Okay, today I have short books that will make you fall in love with reading. I'm going to slowly reveal these one by one at the end. I'll show you all at the same time. But yeah, I tried to keep this list, most of them, to around 100 or so pages. The first book is going to be the one exception, but I think it's not that complex. It's not that difficult to read, and it'll fly by because it's just such a good book. So I included it on this list. But the reason I'm making this is because I feel like a lot of people, one, they like to, say, well, I don't have the kind of time to read all these books. I don't have the time to read a 700-page book that's going to take me like a month. Well, even if you read very slow, you'll still be able to get through these books. And the beauty of these books is that they say so much with so few pages. And I really enjoy that more than any kind of story, when you can encapsulate so much of the heart, so much of the soul in so little words. And with that said, we're going to get into the first thing, which is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. You knew I was going to put on this list because, this is genuinely one of my favorite books. I think it's probably in the top 5, top 10 of books ever written. It's so profound. It's so innovative. It's really the first horror book. It's really the first kind of book about this sort of topic, I guess we could say, with the progress of science, the progress of humanity, and is it really beneficial to us, or is it in fact, are we in fact making a deal with the devil, and are we making a deal that's not necessarily in our best favor? And there's just something about this book. There's just something about Shelley's writing that it's so tremendous, and it really does overshadow a lot of her other work. I've been saying for years that I want to go into her other things to read, but it's just like, I know I'm not going to enjoy it as much as Frankenstein, and it's kind of that it's like that artist that comes out with a really good album, and the rest of the stuff that they come out with, you're just comparing it to that. Or it's an actor who had a really good movie, and for the rest of his career, he's typecast as this kind of comedic actor where he wants to do serious roles. It's like, it's very difficult, and she's almost a victim of her own success, and it's a really, really good book, and I think you're going to enjoy it. There's a lot of timeless themes. There's a really just tremendous story, and it really has everything you could hope to gain from a work of fiction. Next thing we have is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This book's really, really short, and it's really, really good. There's a reason that we somewhat know what we're referencing when we say, well, this guy's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. There's a reason it's so synonymous with the image of somebody that's really two-faced, the image of somebody that is both good and bad in different moments. And it's a really good story. I don't want to talk too much about the philosophical implications of it, but there's a quote from Freud where he basically says that artists and poets knew what I know before I did, but they explained it through their poetry, they explained it through their art, and I am trying to institutionalize it. And I think it's a very interesting thought that these phenomena that we credit Freud with, or we credit Jung with, or we credit science with, are just understood far before the time that they are made, I guess, institutionalized or brought into the scientific community and established and made legitimate, whereas this is entirely a book about the shadow, about the unconscious, about the parts of ourselves that we don't necessarily want to bring to the light. And it's one of those works where you could read it at any age and thoroughly enjoy it, and I really wish you pick it up if you're going to pick up anything to start reading. The next thing we have is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. I've talked about this book extensively. Khalil Gibran is one of my favorite authors of all time. We'll actually probably reread this in the members-only stream at some point, but this has got to be one of the greatest works of poetry ever written. I feel like I keep saying ever, 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 ever. Like, I'm ranking these books like so high. Like, I think it's somewhat undeniable that this is a masterpiece and a great work. Whether you think it's some of the finest poetry, I guess that's up for debate, and I guess if that's something you might disagree with. But there's a line that I read in this poem that even to this day I cite, and even to this day I quote, because it's just, I think it transcends life at such a deep rate, and I'm actively forgetting. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be so funny, because I don't like script these, as you can tell. That's why they're so bad. That's why they're so all over the place. But I was just making a joke that I forgot it. I'm just gonna have to redo it. Anyway, getting off this point and getting back into it. The quote is, "Every sorrow deepens your joy. Every time you experience pain, it allows you to put it into perspective, the good times." And I think Gibran speaks to a certain universal trait that we need to understand and accept in order to be happy. It's like that parable of Solomon with the ring, and how Solomon asks for an item that will make a sad man happy and a happy man sad, and the ring says, "This too shall pass." And it's the acceptance of this reality that kind of gives any life any purpose, any meaning. Because if every moment of your life was good, then you'd be bored. But it's the fact that we fail, it's the fact that we fall short that gives us the meaning and the hope and the inspiration to go forward. You don't know how good you are until you fail. It's when you fail that's when you have to regroup. It's when you fail that you have to go back to the drawing board and come up with a new plan and prepare in a different way and really hunker down and really get on your P's and Q's. But anyway, the format of the book, I love how I explain one quote instead of talking about the book. That's what you guys get on my channel. Horrible analysis all over the place, random tangents, but I feel like there's an element of that you guys like. So I'm gonna lean into what I can do, and the people that can take this more seriously and more analytically, they're gonna do what they do. But the book, it centers around this prophet. He doesn't have a name. It's not really important. This is you'll see this with Gibran's writing, or Mikhail Naimi's writing, or various other authors that kind of use the story as a way to kind of get their poetry across or get their mindset across. And he basically sets up this conversation between the prophet and the city that he's leaving, because he's leaving the city and the city asks him for advice one last time. So he's asked various questions on how to raise a child, on what is life, on what is love. Basically everything under the sun, and Gibran, through his beautiful poetry, gives you the answers that you've been looking for your entire life. And the more I talk about this, the more I want to reread this. But unfortunately, I have to reread another book. Well, it's actually on the list. I'll tell you the book I'm rereading for tomorrow's stream. But yeah, I'm really definitely gonna pick this up in the very near future and go back through it, because it's that easy and it's that good. And Gibran isn't a complex writer, but he's a deep writer. And I truly love people that you can say that about. People like Rumi, people like Blake. Actually, Blake's difficult at some points, but other points very easy. People like Rilke, like, just, you say so much and you say it so simply that the heart and the soul just really reverberates throughout the whole piece. And with that said, we'll get into another writer who is definitely influenced by Rumi. I haven't done enough research on Paulo Coelho, I think that's how you say it. But I'm sure he also read Gibran as well, because it reads like something Gibran would write. And this is The Alchemist. This is one of the first books I ever read that I felt so, I don't know how to say it. It's like you read books and you're like, okay, that was a good book. But I read this book and I felt that there was something in this. I felt that there was a deeper layer to this. I felt that this spoke to me, and this spoke to my heart, and this spoke to my soul, versus just, oh, this was a really good story. And essentially it focuses on the story of a shepherd boy who realizes that what he was looking for, he had the whole time. Me saying that's not spoiling it, you'll figure it out. But it's really about a spiritual journey and a journey through life, and the trials and tribulations of life, and how you can grow into becoming exactly what you want to be, and how life is kind of guiding you through all of these trials. And regardless of what happens to you, there's some purpose, there's some lesson, there's something to be gained from it. It follows this Spanish shepherd through his pursuit all the way to the pyramids of Giza and his travel back. But yeah, it's a really good book. It has a really good story. It's something, again, I think you could read The Alchemist at any age and find some little hope in it. It's not something that's going to stump you. It's not something that's going to be very difficult for you to read. You're probably going to be able to read it in a day or so, but it's one of those stories that really has a heart and really has a soul to it. And I thoroughly enjoy this book. And it's one of those books that I want to say it has 100 million or 200 million sold copies. It's one of those books that I feel like everyone's read. It's something you could talk to people about, and I don't know how deep it is. I don't know how much it's going to change your life, but I think there's something in this book that you're going to find and you're going to enjoy. And I don't know if it's going to, redefine everything that you've ever seen about the universe, but it might put you on the path that will, help you go find that. So with that said, we'll get into the next thing. The next thing is The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. enough said. Kafka is one of my favorite writers, and this is one of the most horrific books I've ever read. But at the same time, I can't get enough of it, and I definitely need to reread this one as well. But yeah, this is a story about a man who changes into a human beetle hybrid and how his family has to adapt to the new sort of appearance of him. And Kafka has this weird style where you can't tell if it's meant to be an allegory or if it's just meant to be a horrific story. And the one consoling factor about Franz Kafka is that there's this very famous account that there was, somebody lived in an apartment and they would hear their neighbor laughing all hours of the night. And that neighbor turned out to be Franz Kafka laughing at his horrific stories. So in some weird way, I feel like people have this very oh, Kafka was haunted by his life and this and that. But he also did have a great sense of humor, and he was able to find joy at the ridiculousness of things, and very much in that George Carlin-esque of laughing as the whole world is burning around you and just poking fun at all the process. And for that reason, I think Kafka he has such a unique perspective on life, and he's one of those interesting stories where he's one of the most famous and one of the most well-respected writers ever, but basically died absolutely, well, I don't think he was penniless, but he worked like a somewhat menial job. He didn't really make that much money. He wasn't really that well respected. But 10, 15 years after his death, he was the most famous and popular writer in all of Europe. So there's definitely something in there. And I don't want to explain too much about the book because I don't want to spoil it for you. So we'll just get in the next one. The next one is Siddhartha, which is, I have to reread half of it today and then talk about it on stream tomorrow. So if you want to become a member, go ahead, check that out. We do stream devoted to a text that I assign, and then we go through and then we talk about it and stuff like that. But yeah, with that said, Siddhartha is a very interesting book. It's about a young man who is seeking something more, and I guess you could say he's seeking enlightenment, but I feel like that's a played out word, and I feel like people don't really, whenever you hear the word enlightenment, you're just like, oh God, not that kind of stuff, not that weird, go up in the mountains and meditate and all sorts of stuff like that. But he's seeking something more. He knows there's more to life, and he doesn't know where to find it. And the entire book is devoted to how he finds this mastery, how he finds the self-mastery. He joins a school. He has a friend that he joins a school with, and he eventually moves on from that school because he didn't find it there. He gets extremely successful in the worldly sense of things, where he has everything that money could buy. He has all the success. He has a beautiful woman that loves him, and he still forgoes that, and then he eventually finds something in nothing. He eventually finds something in acceptance, and I don't want to reveal too much more because that's kind of giving away the whole plot. But it's basically about the story of seeking, the story about seeking some sort of happiness and some sort of fulfillment. And really, the answer to all of this is summed up in that one line of the Tao Te Ching, which is, "Those who seek to find will never see, because they have missed the point." That the point is that you already have everything that you're looking for. I know I just completely butchered the line. It's so much simpler and so much more beautiful than I put it, but basically everything that you would hope to gain, you already have. All the striving you do in the world, all the things that you try to prove to the rest of the world is really you trying to prove to yourself that you like yourself. And the hope is that one day, I'm laughing as I say this, but the hope is that one day enough people will tell you you're good enough so that you'll look in the mirror and tell yourself you're good enough. And isn't that so sad? Isn't that so sad when you break it down that way? And what I think this book really offers you is a sense of freedom and a sense of contentment and a sense of acceptance, because I feel like when we take the pressure off the necessity to be something in this world, then we allow ourselves to be who we really are. But when you say, well, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to follow this, I have to follow this, then it steers you down a different path in a different direction that is not necessarily authentic. Okay, we're on to the next thing, and this is the last serious book, but I have a joke book at the end. The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. Really short book. It's about a fisherman who is getting up there in age, but he wants to prove to himself and to the world that he still has it. And it's a story about the perseverance of humans. It's a story about, as you're declining in physical capabilities, your mental capabilities must take over. And it's really a battle against old age. It's really a battle against mortality, and it's so short. There's such a heart to it. Every word is intentional, and every action in this book is so meaningful and so necessary. And it's just one of those stories that's just a feel good story. I don't know how you could not like this book. I mean, again, there's people that don't like anything. Like you can't look at anything and say like I bet you there's people that think the Divine Comedy is just pure trash. So it's like, I guess you can't win at a certain point, but it's just, I don't want to speak too much about this book because I feel like I'm giving it away, and I feel like it's just it's so on its nose. The more I talk about it, the more I'm just going to reveal to you what it's about, and it's one of those things you just have to read, and it's just one of those things you just have to experience. But yeah, certainly check out this book. And the last book we have is Epitaphs by Bino, which is it's a selection of very bad poetry that I think you guys would enjoy if you enjoy anything I say on the channel. So with that said, here are the books, and I will hold them up so that you guys can see them. I'm also going to put them in the description. Sometimes I forget, and I just will neglect it, and nobody calls me out. But I really do try when I make these lists to remember to put the timestamps so you can skip around, so you could, come back and just so the names and the titles are written down, so that if you want to go check these out, you can find them for yourself. But yeah, with that said, let me know some short books that really made you fall in love with reading, that really showed you what reading could offer, because I feel like this is such a useful video topic, and this is such an interesting video topic. Like, it's really easy to make a long book meaningful because you can spend a whole lot of time with them. It's like a TV show versus a movie, where like a TV show has 100 hours to show you why you should care about this character, where a movie has maybe 15 minutes of scenes devoted to one character, and yet the movies that do it really well have such well fleshed out characterness that people still talk about these characters today. And it's just, I think there's something similar in writing, and I think there's something similar in a short book versus a long book. And it's just, I prefer short books over long books, but that's just my preference, and my preference always shifts when it comes to reading. So, but I will forever have a place in my heart for short things that I've read that have really left an impact on me. And with that said, please recommend me some books. Please recommend me things that had a similar impact on you, and hopefully I'll check them out. No promises. I have so many things I need to read. I have so many things on my desk right now. Like, if I flip my camera around, you guys would be like, yeah, he's never going to get to it. So maybe at some point, if you annoy me enough, I will finally pick up that book that you've been telling me to read. But yeah, with that said, have a good rest of your day, guys. Peace out. I'll catch you in the next one.